My name is Oliver Wieheog. I am a 26-year veteran of the middle school classroom.
And I'm Zach Senny, a barely 2-year veteran of the middle school classroom.
Oh, you still have spots. You are listening to episode 10 of Middle School Madness, a podcast about teaching and things that are interesting to teachers. Today on the show, it is springtime in your classroom, so your students are squirrely and your patience is limited, which of course we're going to talk about classroom discipline and or classroom management. We're going to play a round of 60 seconds where we're going to try to name as many things that annoy us about our classroom.
Hopefully easy.
And then we're going to try to fix them. We want to talk about how you talk one-on-one to a student about their behavior. And then we're going to top it all off with what would you do scenarios. So like all podcasts, this one is packed.
So packed.
Right? Okay, you got your pen, right?
I'm ready. I am so ready.
All right, so here. Oh, you're going to write first? Here we go. All right, I was thinking, all right, you're going to write.
Okay.
So you shout them out as you write them down. I've got 60 seconds.
Oh, I'm doing the writing? You're not writing anything?
Okay, no, you write down what I say then.
Oh,
all
okay.
Right, here we go.
Okay,
60 seconds on the clock. I'm going to try to, and this shouldn't be hard, write down as many things that annoy me currently, springtime classroom, and, okay, go. Talking while I'm talking.
Mm-hmm.
Getting up and leaving your chair.
Yep.
I would also say wandering.
Yep.
Miscellaneous, I got to text my mom. Right? It's always, no one ever texts a dad.
Yeah, it is always fun.
I don't know, keeping your hands to yourself.
Oh, my God, yeah.
More than normal wiggles. Not right there. Not showing up on time or anywhere close to on time. You know?
Yeah.
Saying I've turned it in, but then when we check Teams, it's not turned in, which means you're also a liar. So why are you lying to me? Right?
I hate lying so much.
We still got it. Oh my God, I got 15 seconds left. Excessively loud talking.
Yeah, just
Screaming.
no volume.
That would be, yeah.
Volume control.
Oh, and how about in the old not following directions, but it's destructive.
Not following directions, but it is.
Right, like they just do something completely crazy.
I'm gonna write that down as just distracting others, because when I thought about this question earlier, I'm like, oh, that one's my nuts. Okay, we have quite the list here.
All right, good. Well, now it's here. Now, how many can you list?
Oh, geez, we're going the other way?
Let's go the other way.
Is this Family Feud rules? I can't rename any of them?
Nah, do whatever. Do whatever you got. I think it's all good, right? Because, you're like, I'm in a TV production classroom to your history.
Yes, we are very rigid in my social studies classroom. All the fluorescents are on all the time. No fun is allowed to be had.
One of these days I'll figure out why people cover up their lights, but not in my class. Here you go. 60 seconds on the clock. Things that annoy you in a middle school class.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. That was 1
hour.
That
was 1 hour.
That was 1 hour.
I mean, I feel like that'd be a long podcast.
That would be a very long podcast. You delete that. 1 minute. Boom.
0
60
hours.
seconds. Go.
Talking over me.
Okay.
Boys touching each other constantly.
Boys touching.
I hate when they are just needlessly rude to each other for no reason. I really hate when they're not where they're supposed to be, and then they gaslight you. We can put gaslighting down as the second one.
Okay.
I wasn't doing anything.
Right. The old, oh, yes.
Yeah. So I think other stuff that we didn't talk about yet. Distracting others when people rush through. And we can put rushing as the second one, too, because I have a lot of kids that rush. Not having a pencil blows my mind. I don't know how that happens. Uncharged laptop blows my mind.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We use them every day. Charge your darn laptops. How else? Oh, we're out of time.
And you're out of time. See, this is a springtime classroom.
It really is.
Okay. So here we go. So the number one thing, like I said, and I always find it amazing, that it's a very simple rule, and you would think they would have learned this years ago, right? I talk, you listen.
Right? We are here to help you.
Yeah, and I love your laughter because it says that. Like, wait a minute, you guys have known this since kindergarten, yet I talk, you listen. What do you do?
And you know what's really funny, especially with kids our level?
Yeah.
They all run into the room and they say, "What are we doing today? What are we doing today? What are we doing today?" If you sit and be quiet, right. I will happily tell you what we were doing today.
Because you always love the enthusiasm. Like they seem by asking you, they've engaged with
Yes,
you. They want
correct,
to show
and I
up.
appreciate it.
And yet, 9 out of 10 times, the kid that asks the question is the first kid who's talking while you're talking.
Correct, because they just want to put it out of their brain. They just want to move on to the next thing.
So how do we as teachers in the springtime in our classroom, how do we solve the talking while I'm talking dilemma?
My main thing, something I've really taken advantage of this year in my infancy of teaching is just standing there and looking really disappointed in them until 5 kids be like, oh, he's waiting for us to be quiet. And then I end it with, well, now that you guys have eaten into all of your work time, because I know it's gotten to the point where it's like it's not worth yelling, and they do know what they're supposed to do. And it's much more effective, I've seen, if they're policing each other than me policing them.
Yeah.
And there's only my period after lunch is the other one that I'll throw a theory out. After lunch, they come in, as you know, just
blood sugars.
I don't know that blood. I don't know what they're feeding those kids. I don't know what MSG is in that are in those chicken patties.
Right.
But it is doing something to them. And they come in, and my 6th period is so crazy. And what I have started to do is, if it is an extra level of crazy, and we have a lot to do, especially on a day where we're given notes, I'm like, okay, guys, it's one of those days. We're doing some deep breathing exercises. I literally have them sit there, and the kids that think they're too cool for school roll their eyes at me, but at least they shut up while everybody else does it. And I'm like, okay, I took a yoga class in college. I'm an expert. Breathe in through your mouth. I'm going to count to 10. And then out through your nose, and I'm going to count back from 5 or 10 or whatever I decide to do. But it's shocking, and there is research behind this. Breathing actually does actually calm them down.
Right.
And that class is full of a lot of goofballs, so it's nice.
I mean, that's a whole nother podcast for how to deal with just that genre of after lunch. I'm fired up.
The after lunch, yeah.
I like to, like when they're talking. I think to me, I've gotten the technique of everything's a stage. So then I will just walk and stand next to them.
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything. But obviously, it's the old, as you got the PowerPoint, you're just going to walk and you're going to just boom.
Especially if there's one table that is always the one holding everybody back. Yeah.
You could take any teacher on any planet, and if they had a seating chart, you'd be like, okay, where's your talkers? And even if you shuffled all the chairs around, you would still end up with a table full of...
closest to where you're standing at the beginning of the class.
Right, because they tend to be completely clueless. That, I think, is like technique number 1. The other one is I like to snap my fingers. I'll just be like...
I got a bell.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they're talking, then I'll kind of move in their vicinity, and then it's like...
I know. Totally Pavlov dogs, like...
And they're like, oh, he's snapping
There's like a noise.
Yeah, I'm snapping my fingers. Because I want you to stop talking.
Yeah, I found in an old drawer in my classroom. God knows how old it is. It's a hotel, like, room service bell.
No way.
And I just go ding, 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 and they just shut up. It's amazing. Human behavior is great.
You're very brave to put that out, because the theater teacher in me is every time I bring it out, well, you know what happens. Ding, 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 ding,
yeah.
ding, ding, ding. And and I'm like, okay.
You'd be shocked.
I like that.
I keep it very secluded on my, card of power.
So if you've gotten close to them and you ring the bell and that still doesn't work, what do you do next?
Well, usually the bell is if we're doing stations, there's lots of movement where stuff's shifting a lot. I'd say, 80% of the time, me standing there or just saying loudly, you guys are cutting into your own work time, and making them, realize that or in all honesty too, when I do a note day, I have stuff on the board that tells them exactly what they should be doing. And there's 3 steps that they need to be doing, and I'm just constantly repeating that as they're coming into the room. You need to be opening your planner, update your planner. You need to open your binder for me. You need to put this paper in the table of contents, because guess what, folks? There's a 30-point notebook check at the end of the unit, and if you do it now, you won't be scrambling at the end. So I'm just, I'm using lots of logic to be like, if you do this now, then you won't be in pain later. And there's the warm-up question, work on it. And I was going to get to that in a little bit, but one thing that I really love with teaching and letting, being the planner of it, is that if you have stuff for them to do, they will do it rather than misbehave.
That is so true.
right? Like if you plan something for them to do at the beginning of class and they have that routine every day, then they know what to do. I know, like, whenever we do a work day for me, I have recently not invented, but it's a wheel of music genres.
Of course you have that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because last year, a thing that annoyed me is that constantly they were fighting over what music we should be putting on. It was a 10-minute discussion every day. Because I always have music on. I think it's great. It keeps me sane. It keeps them sane.
Yeah.
And every single day, I want to listen to Katy Perry. I want to listen to Kanye. No, we can't listen to Kanye. Kanye swears. Play the uncensored version. You know what the swear words are.
Right.
So now it's just a wheel of like 80 playlists, and somebody comes up, they rock, paper, scissors each other, they spin it 3 times, they pick whatever they get, and then they know it's time to work when the wheel has been spun. It's all about routine.
And I like what you said. If you structure your class, especially in the middle school, where they have something to do, then when the class has already started, because they know the expectations, should a kid, it's now, we've gone past, I'm not talking, like the instruction period is done, but a kid then gets up and gets out of his chair, I always feel like, well, then you as the teacher can, guide them back by being like, okay, have you finished task number 1?
Yes.
Have you done task number 2?
It's literally doing that today.
Then why are you on the other side of the classroom right now?
So, it has been 10 minutes. Why? You are just taking out your binder now.
Right. And then they'll be like, oh, Mr. Sonny, because I don't have a pencil. When were you going to come talk?
See, but this is the thing. I have systems for that, too. I got a bust of Julius Caesar on my desk, up on the cart. And they have pencils with my name on them. And they come up, they put their cell phone on the desk because they shouldn't be using it anyway. Okay. It's just collateral to make sure I get it back, and then they get a pencil. They don't even ask me anymore. They just go and take one.
They just go. That's good.
So it's all about, routine.
Yeah, routine does it. All right, let's go down to another one here on your list. The boys that are constantly touching the other guys. I think this is like to me, they're little lion cubs. It's a National Geographic special. I always picture, the Simba character. He's just rolling around with the twin Simba. But how do you stop that in class?
I mean, I think that one's tricky because you don't want to overreact because then it's a scene and then they're embarrassed and yada, yada, yada. I mean, I just say flat out at the beginning of the year, expectation is you're not touching each other.
It's kindergarten again.
I know,
right?
It is. You gotta reinforce all these things. And, kids accuse me of using lunch detentions a lot, but especially since this year I just ever so happened to have my own kids for lunch duty, it's so easy to be like, you have lunch detention today, stop, you had your hands on his throat,
right.
or whatever. And, they're obviously 90% of the time they're roughhousing, but, I don't want it to ever get to a point where they take it too far, so...
Spoken like a veteran. And that always, I think, is every teacher's worry. It's like, at that moment, it's fun.
Yeah.
But we all know there's that invisible quasi-line where, for whatever reason, probably the person getting touched is like, it was too hard. The motivation change on that last whack to my
triggers
head.
That id of that lizard brain of, I am being attacked.
Right. You're no longer my friend at that moment. I mean, even last week, there's kid in my class, and it started, he was literally whacking his friend in the head. And I'm like, hey, come over here. I'm like, I just want you to know, kindergarten rules, not mine, kindergarten rules. You don't hit your friends in the head. Oh, but Mr. Wieheog. I'm like, oh, but no.
And to spiral off onto another thing, because these are directly interrelated, is the gaslighting, because they will lie to you straight to your face and say, I did not hit him.
Right.
And I don't deserve a lunch detention. It was just a joke, and yada yada yada. And do you know what I've discovered this year? Have I shown you? If I ever reach a point where I'm being gaslighted, and I know for a fact that it has happened, I have this on my belt.
Oh, what do you got?
It's a tiny violin.
It is. It's tiny.
It's in fact the world's smallest violin, and then I play it for them. And that's the end of discussion.
Right. Discussion is over.
Discussion is over.
Discussion is over. Because in middle school, we lack logic. Well, the students lack a certain degree of logic.
They lack a concept, they don't think that their actions have consequences. And I think that has to be a developmental thing because it is. Well,
it starts with they don't think. A lot of what they do is just,
so
you said, they're like
they're
little lion cubs, and you just got to remind them, keep your hands to yourself. You know,
So we don't want anyone to take
Right.
it the wrong way.
because you don't want to escalate that. And you're right, and it does, and that's where what? No, I wasn't doing it. I was by my desk. I watched you get up. I saw you get up. You whacked him 3 times in the head. I was going over that full pencil.
Yep.
You had a pencil over there.
And at that point, I'm like, well, Janet.
Right, let me hear. I'm going to play this for you. Oh my God. So then, like you said, rudeness was one of yours.
So that's something I think that ebbs and flows with the classes. Like, I remember I started teaching in this building the first, like, just as the masks were still on with the pandemic.
Right.
And kids, I don't know if it was because they couldn't see each other's expressions, or everyone was like shared traumatized, or I don't know what was going on. I think they were a little nicer. And, you know, it ebbs and flows with every class. Some kids are nice, some kids are not. Just like the classic, like, you're stupid when they get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
And like, even like something that's not, you know, a swear word necessarily, but something that could really get into somebody's head, like, oh, you're so fat, you know, something like that.
Right.
That boils my blood.
That does. I've never liked it. I think coming out of the pandemic, it was worse.
Yes.
I remember like after the 2021 year, going into 21, 22,
Yeah.
everyone was thinking the same thing. Well, now it's getting close to normal. The behavior is going to be better. And a lot of people in our profession were like, it's worse because all these social skills like weren't there. And I remember, you know, talking to kids like, look, you're not going to stand up and point at somebody and say something. We've never done this. But it was these strange lessons of like kindness and how to treat other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird because I think in the discipline way, I don't know, if you're talking like pre-pandemic, you know, you could be like, that's it, discipline, I'm calling home, I'm filling out a referral form, you're going to the front office, there's no place for this.
Yeah.
But after that pandemic, you were like, oh, you guys don't
Yes.
actually know.
It's so commonplace. You have to pick and choose the really severe ones to prosecute. I mean, I'd say generally, I'm like, please don't use that kind of language, you know. And I actually took a whole day of my class to do this with the guidance counselor, and like we did sketches about empathy and being nice to each other, and that, you know, we all have backgrounds in our lives that we don't know about, and you don't know what people are, you know, anxious about, and yada yada. I don't know if that did any good, but clearly, you know, my thought process was, if they don't know how to be nice, then they need to be instructed on how to be nice.
Yeah. Now this year, I don't know how it's going down in your classroom. The students seem to have a better understanding for that. Like, I'm not really teaching kindness and politeness. There's not so much rudeness that we had.
It's not as bad.
Right.
For sure.
Which is nice. Like, I'm enjoying the classroom, but there still are those moments.
I think it's probably it's still as bad. They've gotten better at not doing it in front of the teacher.
Good
Because
observation.
I hear about it all the time. Every day there's something.
Okay.
But it's never. If it gets caught by a teacher, it's an accident. It used to be, I'm directly doing this in front of the teacher because I don't know. Now they know it's wrong.
That is a great observation. Yeah. Now
it's like in the background.
Yeah.
Out of earshot in the cafeteria, in the hallway.
So you have that kid in your classroom. He's just, you know, they're goofy, they're rude. Comes time to have that one-on-one talk to them. How do you do that?
So I think that if that's, I mean, I've pulled kids out one-on-one for, I mean, mostly anxiety stuff before. But if I ever pulled a kid out for something that he had directly said to somebody, I mean, I don't even know what would justify that. But if I were to do it, I mean, obviously you take them out of the room because you don't want to make it a big deal in front of the rest of the class. You know, you have them sit down because you don't want to be in a threatening position. You're going to sit down with them, maybe lean against a wall, go crisscross applesauce.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would explain to that kid, like, look, I am disappointed. I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed in your behavior. And the reason is, let's think about how the other person felt, you know, because I think it's all about trying to get them to expand their mind outside of their own little middle school brains. As far as, like, you know, you calling that kid fat, for example, you don't know what his home life is like.
Right.
Like, maybe maybe all they can afford is like fast food every night. You know, you don't know what's going on. Maybe like there's like an anxiety thing.
Right. Or as we know in middle school, I mean, if we had a nickel for every middle schooler who is, the larva before the butterfly, right?
Blow-ups.
Middle schoolers could be chubsy, and you give them a year. Well, now
Oh my
puberty
God.
comes in.
I've seen it happen. It's crazy.
They grow. And
I wish
you're
I
like-
did that.
And they come.
I just stayed chubsy.
No. You're going to grow too, Zach. You'll get skinny. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
The plan is gym after this. We'll see what happens.
But you're right. I mean, it's like, hey,
I mean, one other thing that I talked to the kids with the kindness lesson too is that I remember in 6th grade a kid said something to me, and I the only reason I remember that kid's name is because of that incident.
Right.
And so I point out to them, I'm like, think about how little time we have on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to be known as the person that said that mean thing and was the mean kid in school? That's how you want to be like thought of, And so just trying to get them to think about the decisions that they're making before they make it.
And I think that's very similar to what I've developed over the years. Like you take, say it's the name calling. And when I come to that one-on-one, I love what you said. I got my director's chair, and I'll sit in my director's chair, which also will put me eye to eye with them. So usually, you're in between classes.
Oh, you let them stand and you sit, and that's good too.
Yeah, because
like
I want to, a lot of times I just want to be calm.
Yeah, you don't want to escalate it,
And the joke that I say, which of course, once you say it's a joke, it's not funny, is like, what did I learn about you today in my classroom? Like,
Yeah.
what
I
did
like that.
Like, what did you
Ooh.
teach everybody in this classroom?
Ooh.
And then I go, I want you to know, people think, you show up here to learn from me. You taught me something about who you are today. What was that when you stood up and you called that student fat? And this strange method stops them in their tracks.
I love it. That's hard. That's like I got chills. Like,
Right, it stops.
yeah.
And I'm amazed because it's like it stops them in their tracks. And I'll be like, then I like to go to the magic parent phone.
Yeah.
I go, so if I was to now pick up the phone, because I can go to my computer, I can find your number, and I call your mom, and I described what you taught the classroom today with your behavior, how's your mom going to greet that response after raising you for 13 years? Here's what my son or daughter did in class today.
Yeah.
And it stops them cold. And I have been amazed. It doesn't matter the gender, the student, my opinion of them. And then they stop and you see you see that head like thinking like, oh my gosh, how would my parents greet this? How have I? I'm like, you taught everyone in that classroom that you are a name caller, right? And when you say it like that, and this look on their face is like, oh, that's right. There were 25 other people in there, and I did stand up and point my finger and say to that kid, "You're fat" or whatever.
Yeah.
I go,
Like, you guys are not in a vacuum. You are in a
Right.
class of 500 people, and you don't want to be known to all those 500 people.
Yeah, and it's so true. And it's and strangely, those one-on-one conversations has worked. And then what I like to do is the old follow-up conversation.
Yeah.
And what's great is every adult knows this, and every kid knows this, that as they're walking in, you post yourself out before class. It's what we do. It's what I do. I think what we do.
Yeah.
And when you see them walk in, you do the old hand gesture, like, hey, come here. Stand right here. Right? And as soon as you say that, their heart rate increases.
Sure.
Right? And I'll be like, hey, insert name. I want for the next 40 minutes you to teach me all of your good qualities. Show me everything that I
Ooh.
didn't see the other day, so that when someone says, do I have you in class, I can say everything that makes you a wonderful person, all of your good things, and that's what you want to teach me today. Can we do that for the next 40 minutes? And how do you turn that off?
I like that.
Right?
That's awesome.
And they tend to do it,
That's awesome. Yeah.
But it's, I said, every year got it, the same thing. And I'm like, man, it's tough. But, and some kids, and I don't know if you've gotten there yet, will be like, fine, call home.
Yeah. We've
Had that?
we've totally gotten those. And then, we've gotten ones where home's like, yeah, we don't know what to do. So at that point, it goes up there.
Right. It's funny. I did have, and I called home and I talked about the students' behavior, like they were really not showing any interest in the class, so forth and so on. And the parent did say, we're really struggling right now with this student, And my advice was, well, not only have I been stuck here for 26 years, I go, hang in there.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, just because they're struggling, and you might, but keep parenting, keep setting boundaries, keep talking to them every day, do all of these things so that when they eventually, and I think, figure out their social group, their likes, their dislikes, they find it, I go, but don't ever give up or throw the towel in there.
I know in all the parent conversations that I've had, a lot something that we always come back to is like 7th grade, which, is really what I do, is a huge, and 8th grade too, is a huge time of transition. Their body's changing, their interests are changing. I remember when I went into 7th grade, like I was like, I'm gonna be an architect, and then I just, you know what I mean? Like I had my life figured out. It was like, architects, great. And I remember I was just reflecting on this the other day because we're discussing with kids about what a good friend is, and how friends don't treat friends badly. And I was thinking about how my complete group of friends that I had in elementary school, like lower middle school, completely changed to freshman year of high school, completely changed to senior year of high school, who are still my friends from senior year of high school. You know? I think by senior year, you figure it out, I guess.
You got it out. You found your group, you found your niche, but as a parent, you just got to hang in there.
Yeah. No, you got to be as consistent as we try to be.
Right. Okay, let's play scenario time. Did you bring?
I did bring some scenario. I brought 2. You said bring 2.
All right, good. You bring it. You tell me your scenario, and then I will tell you how I would handle the discipline for those.
Okay. One thing I'll start with my second one because I think it's a more common experience. I've been blessed this year because my 8th period is actually reasonable. They are actually doing their work. They are actually coming in and getting to work. They are actually listening to me when I talk. Last year and the year before that and the year before that and all the way back into subbing every day, 8th period is a nightmare.
Exactly.
So what do you do to deal with that wild, I want to get out of here as soon as I possibly can, 8th period?
Okay, that's a tough
or is it a survival, or is it a question of survival of your own mental health?
Yes. Okay. Well, this is great because you're right. Springtime in a middle school with an 8th period class that may or may not behave on any given day. The one trick, and this goes back to your breathing technique, which I absolutely loved, is I found out if I took them for a 10-minute walk, as in the walk around our building, it worked. Right? Like, that was number one. And it was so funny because I started doing this after our state mandated testing where, they would show up, they're completely out after 2 hours.
They're zonked.
I'm like, I took every class. It felt like taking a dog for a walk.
It's true.
But then they come back.
It's like a little puppy with too much energy.
It's insane. It's insane. But then they came back, and then like on a scale of 1 to 100 for ability to focus, I'm talking maybe 50%.
Yeah.
Which was better than zero.
Better than coming in. Yeah.
And I go back to what we said earlier. And then, especially in the springtime, if I constructed my class that was just structured enough so that everybody had something to do, you could then give the 5-minute talk of here's what you're doing. You could then disperse them through the winds of television production and give them just enough time to focus and then rotate and talk and get crazy and then focus again. And 9 out of 10 times that worked, right? The walk with a well-structured classroom, would get rid of probably 95% of behavior problems.
The walk is good.
And then, like I said, if I had a problem, then it would be like the one-on-one after class, real quick, or between classes. Boom. Okay, you ready for your scenario?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
Fire away.
You give directions, and the directions were, when I am done talking, you are going to silently read your script for 2 minutes. Okay? When I am done talking, I will go 1, 2, 3, read. You read, everyone's quiet for 120 seconds. You go 1, 2, 3, read. The entire table stands up, grabs their camera, grabs their script, leaves the classroom and goes into the hallway.
Out of the tables, one table does that?
Just only one table.
Only one table just completely missed the mark, huh?
What do you do?
Well, they wouldn't even make it to the door. I'd be like, wait a minute! What are you doing?
Okay, keep going. I don't want to say.
I know. I mean, I do think it, like, if it was a class period that I had a lot of rapport with, and that I could get away with this, I would just let them do it, and then just let them deal with the consequences of that action, of them just being very confused, and point that out to them later. However, I think 9 times out of 10, I would physically have to go over there and herd cats and get them back to where they need to be, back into their corral. And be like, okay, if you weren't listening, we are reading our scripts for 30 seconds. Please do that. And everybody, we are now adding additional time for these people. So continue to read for, like, I would reset the timer.
Reset the timer again? Yeah.
Because I've done that when I have a particularly crazy class. I will, like, if it's a hard work period and it is crunch day, it is due soon, I'm walking around every day, all period, seeing that they're not done, and I'm like, okay, folks, it's crunch day, no talking for 20 minutes. And I put on a timer up on the board, and I say, if anybody talks, that timer is getting reset.
And does that work?
Oh, my God. And you know what's great? I wish I could do it every day, but it'd be so mean. They actually, when the timer's done, they work harder than they would otherwise. It's like the walk. It's just like, it's the moment of mindfulness.
Yes.
And it's great because it's self-policing. Because if a kid breaks it, you have to be ruthless and reset it, even at the last 2 minutes. Because
brutal.
Because I mean that's what it has to take. I mean they care way more, and I wish they didn't. They care way more about what their friends think of them than what you think of them. And so their friends being like, "Hey, why'd you pull that in history class today? Why'd you keep talking when we had I wanted to talk to my friend, you know?" So, and it's the same thing as that walk. It's like it's something to center them at the beginning of class, and
I'm amazed that works.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
That is so funny. Okay, here we go. If you could give, because you're 2 years into the profession, plus some student teaching, plus some subbing, right? If you could give one piece of advice to somebody coming into the profession about basic classroom management and discipline, what would that be?
I had a couple things written here, but I think I'm going to go with what I wrote at the end. You just gotta, be silly. Don't take yourself too seriously, because, look, we're here to learn, and learning, kids see if you are being fake so fast. That is one thing that they have a radar for.
Right.
And so if you're, you just, it's just honesty, I let all parts of my personality show when I am teaching.
Yeah.
If I have gone, I forget even what was going on that day. It was a bad day. There was a bunch of stuff that had gone horribly wrong. I don't know if all the printers in the building were broken at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything was going horribly wrong. I had to stop swearing, and I had to get someone in trouble. I had taken a bunch of phones. It was a day. And my 7th period got in there, and I was like, look, guys, I'm up here. I am at my breaking point.
Yeah.
Please be on your best behavior, because I am going to lose it. And they do. They're like, okay, we got it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you do have to let them know, hey, look, I don't want to be mean or crabby or vindictive or just snap, but should that happen, you've been warned.
Yes.
You've been warned.
And in all honesty, I'm not actually going to lose it.
Right.
But just letting, because they see it on your face. They all the time. They're like, Mr. Sendy, you look upset today. I'm like, yeah, it's like nobody has their work done.
No one has it, right.
And then we can't move on. So yes, I'm a little frustrated. And they're like, oh, I'll work on my thing then. I'm like, yes, thank you. I mean, they want to do good.
They do. We end up having really nice students. I was trying to think about what one piece of advice I would give to somebody. And I couldn't think of just one.
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff written down.
Because it's really complicated. And I kept thinking, the only way to give advice about how to discipline or manage a class is to get in there and just do it. And probably just get everything wrong 100 times. Not be honest, lose your cool, try yelling, not talking to them about their behavior, letting them gaslight you. I mean, right? letting the little things explode.
I've taken a new hobby with my 8th period this year because they're so good.
Oh, yeah?
I've been practicing gaslighting them. Hopefully they don't listen to this. I've recently gone through a phase of getting really into DC superheroes because I'm reconnecting with my childhood, or I'm regressing. Whichever my non-existent therapist wants to diagnose me with. So I've been spending all of not all of my money, but a not indecent chunk of money on action figures.
Oh my God.
Of DC superheroes, and I'm sticking them up on top of one cabinet in my room.
I like this.
And every day I've been every other day, every couple days, I'm adding another one.
Wow.
And they're like, Mr. Cini, there's 6 up there today. I'm like, there's always been 6.
Oh, that's great.
There's always been 6 action figures up there. And then they start to lose it. And it's just this ongoing tidal wave.
Right.
Of this is how you make us feel.
Mind trick. How many
I was being real extreme. I was so hungry I didn't eat lunch today. So I have all the snacks left over from my club in my room, and I had a bag of Doritos and I was eating it. And then I was still hungry, so I went and grabbed a bag of Fritos because I like variety. It's the spice of life.
Yes.
And I was eating the Fritos, and one of the kids said, "Wait, I thought you were eating Doritos." And I'm like, "I am."
Oh, that makes that little school brain smoke's gonna come out. I don't think he was eating. I could have sworn he was.
They were taking pictures of it today with their laptops. The amount of action figures on top of the shelf.
That is perfect.
Tomorrow I'm gonna be like, you photoshopped that picture. I'm like,
well, I mean, once again, another podcast episode is how to keep your classroom off balance just to keep their attention.
It's just to keep myself safe.
Just to keep their attention.
Before
we wrap it up, my one technique for doing this, which has worked successfully for 1,000,000 years, and it's the dumbest technique, but it does the same thing. It gets them thinking, what is going? And I'll be like, all right, so tomorrow when you come to class, or as they say in Canada, mañana.
What's mañana, Mr. Wieheog?
And then they look around and they'll be like, Mr. Wieheog, that's not how they say tomorrow in Canada. But you see them look around or like, all right, well, as they say in Finland, adios. And they look around like, what? He is completely, that's not, all right, the bell's going to ring, see ya. And they go completely mental, right?
Yeah, you gotta leave them on a high note of your own insanity.
Right. Well, as they say, there is the sound of the bell. It is time to shut down the smartboard, turn off the lights, and leave the greatest playground in the world, our classroom. Zach, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Mr.
It was great to have you. We'll have to call you back again. So glad for everyone who listened that you became a teacher, because the world needs good teachers. Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the hallway.